Hello, my name's Bond, Richard Bond, and this is Curmudgeonly Yours, a show on Society Bites Radio, part of the Radio Ear Network family, supplying social interaction for the mind and soul. The introductory and concluding music to this show is La Polonaise by Wieniawski, played by Max Bond. I am your host and curmudgeon, where everything is what it seems. Nothing is what it seems. And what is not said is often of most interest. My guest today is author and biographer Jade Plitt. Hi, Jane.
Hello. Good to be with you.
Thank you. Good to be with you, too. Jade Plitt is a passionate, inspiring speaker and author. She ran a thriving business consulting practice until she became enthralled with the Martha Matilda Harper story. In 1996, she was appointed a visiting scholar to the University of Rochester to pursue her research. The result was a book entitled Martha Matilda Harper and the American Dream: How One Woman Changed the Face of Modern Business. That's the title of your book. Syracuse University Press. She released it in May of 2000. As a result of Jade Plitt's efforts, Harper was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame and into the American Business Hall of Fame. In 2017, Plitt released a young children's book entitled Martha's Magical Hair, published by Jade Publishing. In 2018, Plitt co-wrote a young adult version of the Harper story, Martha the Hairpreneur, I like that, with Sally Valentine. In 2019, a paperback version of the Harper biography was released. Jade Plitt is a 1969 graduate of Cornell University School of Industrial and Labor Relations and is recognized in Who's Who in the United States and the world. In 2018, she was recognized with her husband for the Spirit of Manatee Leadership Award given by the Manatee Community Foundation, and was recognized for being a woman of achievement by the AAUW Bradenton chapter. In 2017, she received the Marquis Lifetime Achievement Award and has received many other accolades throughout her life. Jade Plitt, could you tell me a little bit more about yourself and how you came to be the official biographer of Martha Matilda Harper? I've always liked to read short bios of people myself, but I would never be the one to write them. So people like you intrigue me.
Well, I was an entrepreneur, and I had a marketing and economic development consulting firm. I was hired by a community bank in Rochester, New York, to help them propel public interest in their refurbished historic building in Rochester. And our group came up with the idea that we should create a history gallery about that building, because everybody seemed to have a story related to it. In the process, I came across a clipping that referred to this woman, Martha Matilda Harper, as the first woman member of the Chamber of Commerce. And since I was president of the Small Business Council of that chamber, I called the chamber and said, what do we know about her? And got the answer, nothing. And
really?
Then they said, but let us know when you find out. So that really ticked me off. And I couldn't find her mentioned in the who's who of business or whatever. But when I was in Washington, D.C., I went to the Library of Congress and embraced the librarian who spent 2 hours with me, helping me research her, and he could find nothing either, with the exception of a 1950 obituary from the New York Times. It was 2 columns, and it was all about Martha as having created modern franchising, having customers from British royalty to U.S. presidents to Susan B. Anthony.
Wow.
And at that time, I thought women didn't get noted in the New York Times obituary. Boy, she must have been something.
She must have been, yeah.
But I was not a historian, so I did not think that was my responsibility. But I thought somebody should write her story. Well, I couldn't get her out of my mind, and I kept thinking it was so difficult for me just to find that. Who else would stumble on her?
Right.
So then I felt that, well, what the heck?
Now, she grew up in Rochester, right? Isn't that, or was it New York City?
No, she actually grew up in Canada, outside of the Oakville, Ontario area, but she emigrated to Rochester. And she had a very difficult childhood. At 7, she was bound out into servitude. And for the next 25 years, which was not unusual, she remained a servant. And even when she came to Rochester, she was a servant. So the key was her last Canadian employer, who taught her about healthy hair care. Now, we're talking about the later 1800s, the Victorian era, when you didn't wash hair and take care of hair in the manner we do today. But this doctor was holistic, and he taught her about brushing hair, stimulating the scalp, and he had a unique tonic which strengthened hair. On his deathbed, he provided the formula to that tonic to Martha. And she thought that was the key to freeing herself from servitude.
Oh, but you know, it's very interesting. I saw pictures of her. She had hair right down to her feet. And
that is correct.
And to strengthen your hair, because my mother was a hairdresser, and she talked to me a lot to me about hair. She said you need to cut it and groom it and brush it, like you said, to stimulate the scalp and to keep it, keep it healthy like that. So I guess this hair tonic with somebody with such long hair, I don't know. She should cut her hair, but she didn't want to.
No, and I think she used it. She was a brilliant marketeer, and her business initially was in the hairdressing. This was the first public hairdressing salon for women in Rochester that she opens in 1888.
Wow.
And how is she going to attract people? So she takes a photo of her with this floor-length hair, and she posts it on the doorway to entice people to find out what was going on.
Jeez. I'm amazed when I hear you how Martha Matilda's father sent her away at age 7 to become a domestic servant. This would have been in 1864, I guess. How was she able to rise from that position at that time, a servant, right? And being a woman to boot, right? To become the businesswoman, entrepreneur, and inventor that she eventually became.
Well, I believe that she had a dream, and that was she was going to find a way out of servitude. What's remarkable is it took her 25 years. But once she got that formula, she had this vision that she could open a beauty salon. And unlike the tradition of the day where servants would care for the lady's hair in the privacy of their home, she would create a whole new concept. Along with that, since she was so customer sensitive about pleasing people, she invented the first reclining shampoo chair. So when women came into the shop, they were wowed. They just were like, oh my goodness, this is the best. And she attracted out-of-towners. because the affluent would bring their out-of-town friends, and you've got to experience this. This is incredible. And Bertha Palmer from both Chicago and Sarasota came and said, I want to shop in Chicago by 1893.
Wow.
What's interesting is we learn from Martha of how bright she was to commit the customer. So she goes back to Bertha and says, if you want me to come, you come back with a petition signed by 25 of your best friends that will commit that if I come, they will patronize me. So of course, Bertha delivers because she wanted to shop there in time for the Chicago World's Fair.
Right.
And Martha, what we learn is she now has to figure out how to expand. I don't think she had that concept until Bertha and others pushed her to think about locating shops elsewhere. And in that time, you weren't going to get a bank loan if you were a woman, and especially someone of her background. So she came up with the idea of retail franchising.
Okay, but I'm amazed that at those days that today women are mostly the ones that are in these spas and having their nails done, having their hair done. They're the ones who are doing most of the street. And in those days, it seemed like that wasn't the case, right?
That's right. Although she moved from hair to skincare, and she did provide facials that were quite remarkable. I had the good fortune while I was researching to go to a remaining Harper shop and experience the Harper facial, which began at the neck and shoulders and worked up. She was very geared into blood flow and healthy skin, also stimulated by proper motions. So in her guides, her manuals, and her schools, she was very specific about the method that had to be used in order to continue. The other part of her values was she did not want any dangerous chemicals. So she would not allow hair dyes in any of her shops.
Right. Well, that's not the case today. You smell chemicals galore when you go into a shop, right?
You do, unfortunately. That's true. We miss Harper.
Okay. Well, in this age of heavy marketing, Martha Matilda Harper was her own billboard. Her floor-length hair was her signature mark. Talk to us about how Martha Matilda Harper built up her business after the beginning, because she was one of the original franchisers, right?
Actually, she pioneered. She launched the first retail modern franchise and ended up with 500 shops. And she did it strategically. There were niches of support that she pursued. Susan B. Anthony was from Rochester also. And she and the suffragists rallied around Martha because Anthony kept saying every woman needs her own pocketbook. So she encouraged among suffrage supporters to support the Harper shop.
Okay.
And then, of course, you had some extraordinary support from influential people, including a former congressman who introduced the society people to her shop. And then that built